Mr. Anderson.
I told my tailor, who was in Living King, Bogota,
Yeah.
I was going to wear his new Tom Ford style suit here. He said, make sure people know you're the only one in that city that's ever wearing a suit.
Yeah. He's a Roro. He's a Roro.
He's wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone who watched Narcos and everything about Pablo Escobar, if they saw the luxury here, if
Yeah.
they saw people being successful, they'd be shocked.
Now, you wouldn't believe it. 20 years ago, this is a different city. And, you know, I think Colombia deserves better. This is an amazing city, very safe. There was a wonderful campaign that the Colombian Tourism Board did 10 years ago. They said that the risk is you're going to want to stay. And I couldn't think of a better way to put it. People always talk about Colombia is so risky. Are you safe down there? When you come here, the risk is that you're not going to want to go back to wherever you came from.
Remember when the U.S. State Department said it was literally a risk to travel to any place on planet Earth outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, well, it's a very U.S. central message, of course, right? I live here with my 11-year-old daughter, my wife. I can't tell you the quality of life that my daughter has and how safe everything is around us. Of course, there's a saying here in Colombia, you don't want to give papaya. No quiere dar papaya, which means you don't want to be foolish. You don't want to be inviting danger. But if you're keeping your head about you, this is a very safe country. It's a very safe place to live. People watch out for each other.
People will say, oh, but you can't walk around with your phone.
Listen, I don't care what country in the world you're in. If you're in a rough spot of town and you walk around with your phone, there's a chance it could be taken. So there's certain wisdom to just keeping your eyes about you, being alert, and not inviting temptations.
Statistically, it is not the safest country in the world, no doubt. And
Fair.
sure, there's places you can walk around Singapore with your phone, no doubt.
Fair.
But what's it cost to live in Singapore? Is it as exciting to live in Singapore? I mean, you were telling me your daughter is in the U.S. They're doing active shooter drills.
That to me was one of the my wife and I had wanted to get out of the U.S. just to explore other parts of the world, not because we had an axe to grind against the U.S. But I'll tell you, one of the formative moments was when my daughter came home from pre-K doing an active shooter drill. Pre-K. Doing an active shooter drill in her school. And that to me was, it made me sad, and it made me want to dream of something better.
I'll be honest. Part of why I chose Bogota, besides my own personal reasons, was I'm walking around here this morning and I'm thinking, I bet that person thinks I'm just some fuckboy here to get laid.
Yeah.
And in Bogota, they're like, I bet he's an international businessman.
Yeah. Medellin has a reputation for let's call it a party scene, where people are looking for specific favors or specific
Tawdriness, licentiousness.
tawdriness. Yeah, you know, life is what you make it. You can find it here, of course, which I think you can find in any city. But there's an elevated stature here to certain parts of Medellin as well. That if you're looking for it, you'll find it.
If you want to avoid it, you won't find it.
We get a bit of a knock of a reputation as gringos coming here to look for some of the seedier sides of life. But don't let that detract you from Medellin and the beauty of what it offers. It's a great, vibrant culture here that has nothing to do with, let's call it the underbelly of society.
I'm upgrading the apartment in Bogota.
Yeah.
Because I decided, hell yes or no.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sell in Montenegro.
Okay.
And I'll, perhaps sell the current place in Bogota.
Sure.
Where we were at.
Yeah.
You've been at all the birthday parties. You were in Monaco this year.
Yeah.
You were in here during COVID.
I was, yeah.
And we're going to see some real estate tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very interesting. And one thing I'm going to tell people is, when I'm looking at properties, Paula on my assistant team found properties that are half the price of what you'll find on the English-speaking websites.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, too, because Colombia, I don't think has advanced to the stage where everything's online. It's great to know contacts here that can work the local market and know people. I know a guy kind of thing, because you're not going to find everything online. And I think it's very important to get to know people in the local community. And that's how you find opportunities to invest.
I went back and rewatched Narcos not so long ago.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to see in the last couple months, Cien Años de Soledad.
Yeah.
I know you're a big fan of that.
I'm a big fan of the show. Of course, the book is an iconic book, one of the best of Latin America that's ever been produced here. And I take it as a sign that we're shifting the conversation about Colombia.
Yeah.
Narcos, unfortunately, one of the more frustrating things that I find is I tell people I live in Colombia, the first thing that people mention is Pablo Escobar. It's a reality that happens.
Have they been in a cave for 30, like literally 33 years now?
Well, yes. The reality is yes. Unfortunately, people aren't as educated as that. And the only association a lot of people have with Colombia is during La Violencia or the times of violence during that time. Colombia deserves better. And to see that one of the most celebrated artists in the world, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who is the author of 100 Years of Solitude, is now starting to see his work shown on a larger scale for the more popular audience to see, especially the U.S. audience.
They were very protective of having it turned into a movie or a show.
It's interesting you say that because it's such an iconic book. It's almost impossible to do it justice.
Yeah.
But I've seen 7 episodes of the series so far, and I'm very impressed with how they've been real to the story.
But I was reading that Netflix is making huge investments in Latin America.
Massive.
Not only filming shows here, but for the entire Latin American audience.
Massive.
This is their #1 growth market.
Yeah.
It's not the U.S.
It's amazing to see. I think, well, the U.S. market, I don't know enough about Netflix's business, but I imagine it's pretty tapped out. The fact that they're investing in Colombia, not only is it fantastic for the Colombian market, but again, it starts to shift the conversation away from the drug trade and from the darker times of Colombian history, which are, again, are very real, but it doesn't tell the whole story about Colombia.
I think Asian markets will grow a little bit faster in the next 20 years. But a lot of folks, like yourself, they prefer the lifestyle here for your business, planning events, planning our events. You prefer the time zones.
You say it all the time. It's your motto. Go where you're treated best. That's a very personal question. It's a very personal quest that you go on to go where you're treated best. Everyone has a different answer. The way that I see Colombian culture, the way that I find the warmth here, and the beautiful chaos of society here, which of course chaos is everywhere, but there's a beauty about the chaos here. There's a realism. The magic realism of Gabriel Garcia Marquez is alive and well here in Colombia.
You just like the women.
Let's just say there's beauty all around. Not only in the women, but everywhere you look, there's beauty. We only go around this place once. We live one life. Go where you're treated best. It's your motto, and it's something that I passionately believe and firmly believe that.
Speaking as someone who probably has 5 or 6 years max left to live, I agree with you. I think you coming to my 40th birthday party in Monaco, we had a great time.
Yeah.
The Hotel de Paris. Now us being here, people who say, oh, how do you have friendships? How do you have relationships as a nomad capitalist?
Yeah.
You do it this way.
Friendships aren't necessarily defined by how many times you see each other a year, but by the bonds you establish over borders. So cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Another reason I've relished being in Bogota rather than Medellin is they've had these protests against the gringos here where they, encircle the cafe and shout, go home, because there's so many people coming here. And yet I would imagine that's pretty isolated.
It's isolated, but let's be honest. I think part of it is a self-inflicted wound where you travel to another country, you establish residence in another country, and you want that country to somehow adapt to you as opposed to you adapting to that country. I think there's a certain respect you have to have for the culture you're going to want to be among that culture and the people that are there and not impose necessarily your lifestyle on them.
At least outwardly.
Fair enough.
I will say this.
Go.
I'm against otherizing of all kinds, including in the United States.
Yeah.
I would say if a Colombian moves to the United States, they don't immediately start acting like a guy from Ohio.
And I think that's agreed. At the same time, I think there's a certain respect you show.
Yeah.
I know people who live in certain countries for 30 years and never make an attempt to learn the language, or at least the basics of a language there. I think that's disrespectful. I think you need to at least show some respect, whether that be in deference of how you treat people or in actual learning the language, to not deserve the reputation or not gain the reputation for just trying to establish a San Diego wherever you pop up a tent and try and make your new community.
You can have a taste of home here. You can have great food.
Amazing.
But you got to try the Colombian food. You got to try and see what's great about this place.
It's a certain respect you show to the culture that you're in, wherever you go, that you can bring what you take, you bring what you have, but you also celebrate the land you've chosen.
And for them, the women.